We've talked about the identity of the Exo Stranger for years now. We would ask questions like, is the stranger Maya Sundaresh, or did she use Vex technology to travel to alternate timelines? Most of that was speculation backed by some in-game Grimoire facts that could have been tied together. But in today's video, the Warmind expansion reveals some stunning information that may finally reveal who this character is. Welcome to the channel, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I definitely had a fun time making it. So let's first begin with what we know of the Exo Stranger from the first Destiny game. So in that game, the Stranger appeared to be working for some unknown faction and knew more about the war against the darkness than us Guardians did.
Too late returning. How many? Hold position, kill the engines, and don't let them find you.
She possesses much technology that even the ghosts do not fully understand, and she is capable of appearing and disappearing out of reality. I mean, heck, the description on her rifle, the Stranger's rifle, explains that it has parts that shouldn't yet exist, pretty much confirming that it's from the future. At some unknown time, she encountered the Warmind Rasputin, who recognized her, but did not understand her purpose. He then asked her how he could imitate her. This meeting may have occurred during one of the numerous reappearances to stave off an unknown future, but that could be debated. Throughout Destiny 1's campaign, she basically followed the Guardian from planet to planet, observing our every move. Once she found out that we were the one who can aid her in averting humanity's downfall, she warned us of the Black Heart and how it could destroy our Traveler and the Light.
Find the Black Garden. Rip out its heart. Only then will your Traveler begin to heal.
So in Destiny 1, that's all we learned of the Exo Stranger in a brief summary. I mean, there's a lot more if you can go in depth, like, meeting the Warmind Rasputin and things like that, but you get the overall idea. Next, we can fast forward to expansion 2 for Destiny 2 titled Warmind, which released a couple of days ago. So Ana Bray is the main vendor and the focal point of the DLC. We help her fight the Hive, the Worm God, and go out there and save Rasputin. So she's the new main character that us Guardians interact with. Now she's definitely interesting, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but in some of this gear there are hidden memories and lore tabs referencing her sister, Elsie Bray. Now this is interesting considering in the first Destiny game we only heard her name once on the Eon Trespass ship. It said, born from the mind of Elsie Bray 3 years before she disappeared. So first you may be like, oh cool, I didn't know she had a sister and we're getting more information on her, but if you didn't read into all these lore tabs and memories, you didn't pick up on some major points. So in Warmind we got a new ship called the Shadow Trespass, and this ship is sort of connected to the one in the first game. It says from the Journals of Beatrix Deny, pilot. Elsie Bray designed this ship, she was even at the naming ceremony. I wasn't pilot of the ship back then. Back then, there wasn't even a war to worry about. That was the Golden Age, and it's as if all anybody ever did was improve themselves, expanding knowledge, building amazing machines, and eat lotus or whatever you do in Endless Paradise. But I'll tell you what, those dark panels, those avoid detection by other ships' sensors. Which kinda makes you wonder, why did she design something so great for war in a time of peace? Maybe for some people, perfection in the Golden Age meant developing something like perfect vision or just what could become of humankind. Not all of it would be pretty. So that's a pretty cool lore tab. The pilot quoting all of this is wondering why Elsie Bray created those stealth sensors in a time of prosperity, the Golden Age. Why design this ship for all-out war in a time of peace? Well, if she did have time traveling capabilities, you can understand why. Next, we have the Eon Drive Sparrow, which is from Eververse. So again, this is Elsie talking in the card, and it says this. I've forgotten what this place looks like. It feels like only yesterday I had a badge and a desk. Not a lot survived, but somehow this old thing is still around. If you've come this far, we have a lot in common. You feel that same drive to see something through to the end, don't you? I've never been the sentimental type, but at this point, I'm a stranger to my own nature. It just feels right that I'm back. For now. By the time you read this, we'll just have missed each other. I've run the simulations and I can't stay. Not yet. Take care of her for me. So wow, Elsie is reminiscing here on her days at the Clovis Bray facilities and discussing herself being a stranger to her own nature and that she's running simulations. Also says by the time you read this, we'll just have missed each other. This could mean that the timeline is a little bit different and that she's not going to be there at the same time because her path is a little bit different. So if you're still with me to this point of this video, some pretty interesting stuff, but we're pretty much just getting started. Moving on, let's take a look at the Answerous Overdrive Sparrow that you can obtain from collecting 45 memory fragments. And by the way, if you'd like to figure out how to do that, the video is down below. I was 13 when I built my first sparrow. I don't even remember why I wanted to, only that I could not bear to stop until I completed it. The way individual parts perform independent actions to cause reactions within a complex system is like hearing a beautiful symphony come alive. Like pieces of a machine, we all had a role to play in the coming calamity. If you ever feel lost or alone or hopeless, remember that you are a part of something greater. I've always used science to create art, whereas Ana applied art to science. I couldn't have finished that sparrow without my sister's help. The original prototype is long gone, but I've held on to one of the final models. It won't be much of use to where I'm going, so I'll leave it to you. So from what I've read so far, you can kind of make some connections, right? You know, running simulations, preparing for the future, and so on. But within the lost memory fragments is where things really start to spill out. So I'm going to go ahead and read 5 of those fragments, and if you get bored of listening to stuff like that, I definitely recommend you listen to these. You definitely want to hear what's going on. As an engineer, I wish I could bottle inspiration. You never know when it'll hit. For instance, this morning when I was servicing some Hephaestus field units, test nodes that are meant to gauge weapon effectiveness in a variety of field conditions, and I had an idea. The nodes are mobile enough that they could be easily hidden and reconfigured to need specific weapon data to activate. If someone is smart enough, they could easily arrange the nodes to serve as a locking mechanism, one that's hidden right in plain view. Here's the next one. A brilliant classmate I met at the physics fellowship in Delhi took a job on Venus to continue her research. Twice a year we exchange encrypted transmissions to share ideas, for it's a silly notion to lay claim to shared human knowledge. Ishtar Academy materials are forbidden on Mars, but I avail myself of an opportunity to push myself to the next peak. If I can get my hands on a Vex core, there's no telling how far I could push Bray engineering. Jumping into an Einstein-Rosen bridge to travel in time has been long regarded fantasy by serious physicists. But what if there existed a computer so powerful it could indistinguishably simulate an entire alternate timeline? Based on my early research, this is a possibility of Vex technology. The key question would be whether one could take knowledge from a simulated timeline and alter the original. One step at a time though. Next we have 3 days until divergence. If I'm gone, that means something terrible has happened to me. I've wiped all traces of my research, but Willa has security scouring the facility for me. She wants to take the weapon I have created, and at this point it's impossible to take it off-world. It's way too dangerous to fall into the wrong hands, so my only choice is to hide it. The old storage caches in Core Terminus and Olympus Descent are now linked to the Hephaestus test network. And by the way, there she's referencing the 2 caches where you get the sparrow and then the exotic sword. And lastly, we have the 2 days until divergence. All I've got to hold on to is the hope that I've moved enough of my tech into the vaults and the visions of the future I've seen are accurate. That somehow, divorced from time and space, my words find you. Please tell Ana I'm sorry and that I never wanted her to be dragged into this. You were smart enough to break my code, so I put my trust in you to use whatever I've created to make things right. One day, this will all make sense. I promise. So the memory fragments are very interesting. It's basically Elsie Bray writing to our guardian about those hidden items she placed, or at least the last couple of fragments, the sword and then about the sparrow. So from just reading or listening to those lost memory fragments, we can clearly see connections to the Exo Stranger. So first, Elsie was in contact with the Ishtar Collective on Mars and was messing around with Vex technology. This is when she began experimenting with things like simulations. In the 3 days fragment, it says that Willow wanted to use this technology, but it was way too powerful, and Elsie basically had to hide it. She couldn't let them use it, or let it fall in the wrong hands. Something you may have stumbled right over is the word divergence itself. The first ones there said 21 days until divergence, and the last one 2 days until divergence. Now the word itself means the process or state of diverging. So this could have been counting down the exact days she became the Exo Stranger. She became diverged using this Vex technology she has discovered. This is something I missed in Destiny for a very long time, and I'm sure you as well. Things like the Book of Sorrows or hidden lore tabs like these ones that reference an amazing story. Yes, it's not in the game or whatever, but it does fuel the overall universe, and I enjoyed that. So Elsie created those exotics. It's the Answer Sparrow and the Worldline Zero that we obtained from those two caches where she hid them. Elsie saw something in the future. She knew that we had to prepare for it, and this is when she changed that ship around. She then became interested in this Vex technology and worked with the Ishtar Collective, even though it was most likely against Chloe Bray rules, and that sort of stuff was supposed to stay on Venus. It wasn't supposed to be in Mars in the first place. So from playing Warmind, we learned that Chloe Bray created the Warminds and Rasputin in particular. We also know that this is the corporation that created the Exos and seeding the whole human consciousness into the Exos. So again, this could explain how the Exo Stranger is an Exo, using this Vex technology and converting it into the Exo body. After all, she says that she's not forged in light, and this would totally make some sense.
No. I was not forged in light.
Bungie was always telling us as they wrote the Exo Stranger out of Destiny 2, and whether they meant like actual gameplay, whether you might not see her again, but we actually have more information here, so that's exciting. So to wrap up this video, we're going to take a look at something that's mind-blowing and pretty much confirms this theory. So if you head over to Ana Bray and take a look at the logo seen on her chest, this is the same exact logo seen on the forehead of the Exo Stranger. But Guardians, that's all I got for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. There's a lot of awesome information in there, and this is one of my favorite things about Destiny, finding that secret information hidden there and making videos just like this one. So if you enjoy that as well and like to see more videos just like this one, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Got some awesome stuff in the works, and you'll see that over the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Evade, and I'll catch you Guardians in the next one.